Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Gentlemen, I look to our deputy clerk. Do we have any additions or deletions to this morning's agenda?
Not at this time.
I'll look for a motion.
move. Second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, a second by Commissioner Wincher to approve the agenda as printed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion prevails. Gentlemen, we have an agenda. Gentlemen, I'd like to ask at this time if there's anything anyone would like to have removed for further discussion from the consent agenda this morning. Seeing nothing, at this point in time, I would ask for approval of the
So
consent
moved,
agenda.
Mr. Chair.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jelinski and a second by Commissioner Wincher to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, gentlemen, this is a roll call. Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire?
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher?
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
And the chairman votes aye. The consent agenda has been approved. Gentlemen, next on the agenda is the Public Works Report. Good morning, Mr. Hennon.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Tony.
So I have a new employee with me this morning. I'd like to introduce Drew Hatzenbuehler. He is our new environmental recreational manager. And he's been hard at the job since about mid-June, and he's already starting to chase some of our issues around. Drew joins us from Fillmore County, and we're very happy to have him here.
Fantastic.
Welcome aboard.
Drew, it's a pleasure to have you here and in joining the Morrison County family. We appreciate your interest, and obviously we assume that you found residency up here with us.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, moving in Friday, so.
Excellent.
Right in the middle of all of it.
Outstanding. That's fantastic. Fillmore County, Preston, Minnesota?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Rochester. I've been living in Chatfield and then working in Preston.
Fantastic, fantastic. Gentlemen, any comments for our newest employee? Commissioner Jelinski?
Drew, just read about you. You're our new noxious weed guy.
Correct.
Excellent, excellent.
Or about to be, yes, I should say.
About to be, that's right. About to be, about to be. There's all these little teeny tiny things. What's my job? Well, this is your job. How about this one? That's your job also. So excellent, excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Drew has a solid waste background, so we're really
Oh,
excited to
good.
have him. And then also some environment, like some recreational environmental background for teaching, so it'll be kind of neat
Fantastic.
to have that in our Parks Department.
So with that solid waste background, will we let him venture over to visit with Dr. Jeff at the landfill?
We'll work him into it. We want to make sure we don't scare him away.
Yeah.
No, he's already met Jeff. I think Jeff's excited to have him aboard too, so it's been going well.
Fantastic. Tony, the floor is yours.
I have one item this morning. I'm requesting a resolution to appoint Drew as the new county designated employee to carry out the noxious weed laws for Morrison County.
Mr. Chair, seeing as though I already said that that's what he did, I'm going to make that motion.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Jelinski and a second by
Second.
Commissioner Lemire to approve Drew as our new noxious weed officer here in Morrison County. Do we need to read this aloud, gentlemen, this resolution? If not, is there further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, gentlemen, this is a roll call. Commissioner Lemire?
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher? Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
The chairman votes aye. Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Drew, congratulations.
One more thing to do.
Thank you very much.
That's all I have today, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Is there anything else you have for me?
Excellent.
Tony, fantastic. Hope the weather continues to hold for our construction season.
Me too.
Always good to see you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great
Thank you,
day.
guys. Stay safe.
Gentlemen, next on the agenda, we have the Health and Human Services report. Good morning, Brad.
Morning, Mr. Chair,
Morning,
Commissioner.
Good
Brad.
morning, Karen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Karen.
Good morning. How are you?
Wonderful.
Are you staying busy, Karen?
Pardon
Are
me?
you staying busy?
Oh, are we staying busy? We are.
Oh, now you're gonna have to provide therapy for her. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Karen is here to talk a little bit about our financial assistance programs and where we're at. So I'll let Karen talk a little bit.
Okay. Diversionary Work Program. This program is cash assistance for families. It is set up to be a 4-month program, set up to get them off of assistance as fast as possible. We only have 2 cases, 2 adults and 5 children. The good thing about diversionary work program is we send them to the workforce center, they work with them. If they find a job once they've been approved, that income doesn't count. It's all excluded. It's meant to get them on their feet, get them off the cash program.
The reason that there are none in 2021, and Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, it's because of the public health emergency. So
Correct.
they eliminated the diversionary work program
Yeah, they all had
during
to
the
go to
height of
MFIP.
COVID, so.
Okay, payments for May for diversionary work program, as you can see, 2022 was only $941. Minnesota Family Investment Program, that is the other cash assistance program for families. We have a total of 83 cases in the month of May, 57 adults, 141 children. 22 of the cases out of the MFIP are caretaker cases, which means it is relatives caring for children. They are not on the grant, just the children are on the grant.
Mr. Chair, if I may interrupt, which I'm good.
Commissioner Wincher.
Thank you. Are these carryover from like April, May, so like you have 83 now? Was that part of the 102 prior, now it went down, or is it new cases?
Those are the carryover,
Okay.
yeah. Some are new, but most are carryover.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, if I can follow up.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Karen, and if you're going to get to this, just cut me right off and I'm fine with that, is how, explain to me, if I am one single person or if I have a family of 10, what kind of, what do you mean when you say cash assistance? Does it mean $1,000 to a single person, $10,000 a month to a family with 10?
We'll get to that at the end, Jeff.
Excellent, thank you. That's,
You bet.
I didn't mean to get ahead of you.
No, that's
but
okay, that's
I
okay.
want-
It's a good question.
Thank you.
Okay, MFIP cases, post 60 months, they have to have a reason for an extension, and we do have 12 cases. People are able to stay on MFIP for a period of 60 months unless, of course, they have mental health issues, physical issues. They have to have something in writing from a doctor. And then we call that Family Stabilization Services. Monies issued in May of 2022, $73,938. And here's where your question is, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, assistance standards, household of one. This is a child-only grant. This is what a relative would get if they are caring for one child. $355 in cash, and then the food would be $208. Now, household of 2, this could be 1 adult and 1 child. $545 of cash, $381 in food. Now, if you have 2 children, the benefit would be $545 in cash, $381 in food. No adults would be on. Normally, a relative caretaker case is children only.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Perfect. It's, to me, it's one of those things when you're on the outside looking in and saying, oh, those people are on welfare. And they don't have to work. I have to be honest with you, my opinion, folks, you're not getting rich being on
No,
welfare.
they are not.
This is not a happy time here. I don't know who's been to a grocery store lately, but this doesn't go very far.
Right.
So thank you. You answered exactly what I was looking for.
Okay, good.
Karen, if I may, with that slide, with the graph and the numbers on that, the reminder that those numbers are set by state statute.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, extensions. If someone has received 60 months of Minnesota Family Investment Program, they have to have a reason for an extension to remain on. Otherwise, they're cut off. So, the employed extensions, if one parent works an average of 30 hours a week, the second parent must work 55 hours per week. Normally, if they're working that, they're not going to be eligible anyway. Limited work due to illness or a disability. We do have people with that. We have people who have been trying to get Social Security disability for 2 years, 3 years. They are not able to work. But, of course, Social Security disability is kind of hard to get, so. Hard to employ. They're developmentally disabled or mentally ill. Learning disabled, unemployable. Some are on the family violence waiver. We do have like 4 cases right now. That's domestic. Ill or incapacitated extension, of course, that has to be from a physician. Okay, moving on to our child care program. Currently, we have 34 child care cases in the month of May. 21 cases are basic sliding fee, 2 cases are transition year, and 11 are MFIP. Minnesota Family Investment Program, that means they're either looking for work or they're working on education, doctoring, whatever is in their plan, we can cover for childcare. Childcare allocations for 2022, $203,281 for the county. That's for the whole year.
This, this generally goes to, of course, Morrison County child care providers or a family friend or neighbor, but I think the other thing to point out is that we underspend our allowance for child care assistance
yeah.
significantly. And so, you know, for those families who might be on the edge in terms of income, it's an income-based program. But if they're on the edge, this could be a program that could help them stay at work full-time or part-time, depending upon, but we do have allocation that's available.
May child care issuance, basic sliding fee, we issued $5,040. MFIP, $1,596. Transition year, $324. Child care program can be confusing, and this is kind of where it gets confusing. At recertification, they have to be within a certain income standard. So the entrance level is 47% of the federal poverty guideline. 67% is at redetermination, which is once a year. They have to be at 85% during that whole 12-month period. So if you look at the bottom, I tried to do a little explanation. Once a family is determined eligible, their gross annual income must be at or below the 85% exit level for their household size during the 12-month eligibility period to continue receiving child care assistance. This gets confusing. It's just to show how confusing our programs can be. At redetermination, a family's gross annual income cannot exceed the 67% exit limit. If their income exceeds 67% for their household size at redetermination, the family is no longer eligible for child care assistance. Did that put your head in a spin? It is confusing.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Lemire.
You know, there's a lot of areas that Brad's talked about doing because of the peacetime emergency, we can't take people off.
Right.
Is this a similar situation too?
Childcare, no.
No?
And that brings me to the last page here. They have to be in an authorized activity. Childcare, if they are not, we can close them. So they either have to be doing job search They have to be employed at least 20 hours a week or going to school, education, and that plan has to be approved. Either it's approved by the county or approved by the career force, their job counselor. And basically, it's the same for all of the child care programs. You have basic sliding fee, you have MFIP, transition year, and the portability.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Wilson.
I have a question. When you take like a four-person household,
Mm-hmm.
is that husband, wife, and 2 kids? Or if it's just a wife and 3 kids, is that how is that described?
It would be a household, if you have a wife and 3 children, it would be a household of 4.
Okay, and if you had a wife and husband? Or
It would be a household of 5.
okay.
Now, are you asking who has to be in an authorized activity?
I don't know what I'm asking, to be
Okay.
honest with you. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think, I usually try to think of that as kids. You know,
Okay.
how many kids, but if you got a husband and a wife, and if you only have one of those, does another child add on to that? I'm thinking of income with 2 people versus 1.
Okay. Normally, if it's one, like a woman and 3 children,
Okay.
she is working, so yes, it would be a household of 4, and she has to be within that entrance level, the 47%, which normally they are. What happens with a 2-parent household is one normally might be working 10 hours a week, and the other one is employed full-time. We can't approve that unless she works 20 hours a week. If he's working full-time and she works 20 hours a week and they're within the income, then we could approve it.
Qualify. Okay. All right, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Wincher.
we brought up daycare here a week ago, a month ago, whatever, about how it was so easy. It was like a page and a half to qualify for daycare. Now it's 100,000 pages. I'm exaggerating, but it's a lot more difficult.
You're only off by a couple
I
pages.
know, but I think it was 50-some pages compared to 1.5. Is it the same thing here with this qualifying for this entry level for childcare? Do they have to jump through hoops to get this, and then people get frustrated? Or are people everybody tries to see if I'm qualified? I don't even know where that question is, but I say, is it difficult for parents to get childcare assistance?
Absolutely not. What you have to do, fill out the application, provide the check stubs. Childcare doesn't ask for a whole lot except for verification of identity to each. Like the parent would need like a driver's license and then birth certificates for the kids. Check stubs to prove you're working, or if you're going to school, whatever. You need to verify what activity you're doing, and that's it. Send it in, we'll determine it.
And then that's, every year then you take a look at that.
Correct, at recertification every 12 months.
So if they qualify now when I apply, and then a month later I get a job that's a little better, whatever, do I then have to pay that back, or I wait for my?
No. You report your new job, we'll redetermine it then.
Okay.
There's always a copay for a parent that's working, and if you get a better job, your copay might go up. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be closed.
Thank you.
The biggest thing for people is fill out that application, provide us with the verifications, there's a cover letter, send it in. And if we need something else, we will let you know, but you need to make sure you get those into us. That's,
Again, the reason I'm bringing it up, because the price of daycare, and again, we have daycares closing, and it's just getting more difficult for some of these families that are struggling. You know, they're right at that cusp of, hey, can I move on? But having daycare assistance, I think, is, important for some of these families.
it's a good program, it really is.
And again, this can all be done via mail and phone, so they
Right.
do
They
not have
don't
to
even
come in
have
and
to
be
come
seen
in.
face to face. So it's not like they'd have to take time off from work. We can send them the application. They can submit all the verifications via mail along with the signed application.
Most of them are received now over email. Yeah, and we do most of our interviewing over the phone. Saves people a trip to come in.
I'm Good,
For-
thank you, Mr.
Further discussion, Commissioner Jelinski.
And Karen, I just have one more thing, and I'm gonna go back to the eligible and the money that you're getting, which,
For cash?
yeah.
Okay.
Again, I think is, nobody wants to be on these programs. Because again, you're certainly not getting rich on them. But when we talk about getting money for food, I think today we use a debit card of some kind. Be it what it might be.
It's an EBT card, yep.
Okay, and with that, I just can't buy anything.
Correct.
Maybe you could elaborate just a little tiny bit on that,
It has to be food,
period.
period.
Now, is food candy? I don't have any idea, I'm just asking.
Yes, they can purchase candy with it.
Kind of a fine line, because we're not
Yeah,
gonna live
it-
on candy, but,
It has to be edible,
okay,
let's put it that way.
okay.
You can buy, like, at Coburn's, those chickens, but you can't go to, like, Burger King and use your EBT card.
Okay. Oh, very good.
Yeah.
I understand, so you get the rotisserie thing, but I can't go and get a Happy Meal,
Right.
or
Yep,
whatever that might
yep.
be. Excellent, thank you very much.
The other thing about the EBT card is, you know, a while ago, there was a lot of talk about people accessing SNAP benefits and then moving to Florida and continuing to use them. Now our financial assistance unit will get reports of people who have used their EBT card for more than a month, more than a week, out of
We-
state.
We get a monthly report and we can track where they've been using it.
Yeah. So if they've been in Florida for 2 months, then we will take a look at that and whether or not they should be continuing to receive SNAP in Minnesota. Even though it's a federal program, you can't take your card and just use it somewhere else all the time, so.
Right, and cash, you can't, it's just within North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. That's the only states they can use their cash.
Okay. Thank you, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Any further discussion, gentlemen?
Okay, have a
Karen,
good
that-
day.
Karen, if I may,
Sure.
first of all, I want to say thank you for a very good report to us this morning, but I do have
Thank you.
2 questions for you.
Okay.
Number one, on one of the earlier slides, you looked at looked at cash payments that where we look to help the handicapped, the mentally handicapped or physically handicapped out there. I just wanted to clarify that is not the only assistance that we have available for those who have greatest need. Is that correct?
Generally not, they'd have to qualify under another program. The requirements to remain on MFIP with a disability are probably not as, probably don't reach the level of qualifying necessarily for other programs within Human Services. But yes, there could be other benefits for them, such as case management, waiver services, in-home services, things like that.
Okay, and then one other question I have, and Brad, you had made the comment that on the childcare part of your presentation, that the county doesn't, we don't utilize our full allotment of revenue for childcare. Can you explain to me how that money runs? Is that money that's a pass-through from the state of Minnesota through whatever we designate to childcare? Or does the county receive a lump sum amount and whatever we don't use, we can still hold on to? Can you explain that to me?
The state of Minnesota has an annual allocation for childcare assistance, and every county has a certain amount that they can spend. We also get a certain amount of administrative revenue from that, so our staff are get paid for the work that they do. So I can't remember overall, like 248,000. I can't remember exactly what our allocation is, but if we don't use it, it reverts back to the state general fund, and currently, the state can make some adjustments, so if a county's overspending, then they can take counties who are underspending's allocation and use for those counties. They even out the books at the end of the year, state fiscal year.
Okay.
So the money does not sit here. It is an allocation, so we authorize it within a computer system. The childcare provider goes out and gets reimbursed through that computer system.
Okay, very good. I appreciate that explanation. Karen, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good
Yeah,
day.
thanks, Karen.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Karen. My second report is, I'm going to ask Sarah and Emily to come forward. We have a resolution after this. It's the time to update our resolution for Towards Zero Death. So Sarah and Emily are going to provide information on what we have done to try to reduce traffic deaths in Morrison County.
Good morning.
Good morning, ladies.
So TZD, or Towards Zero Death, I always like to bring Emily here to talk about the good work that she does, because let's be honest, she does the work. So I'd like you guys to see her and know what she does, because I think her work is very important. So that's why Emily's here. So Towards Zero Death focuses on outreach and education. It engages all 5 of the E's, so enforcement, education, engineering, EMS, and everyone else. So we utilize crash data to drive our work. And in order to receive this grant, the Sheriff's Department also has to apply for an enforcement grant in order for us to do our end of the deal. This is a slide that shows roadway fatalities in Minnesota. And for a while, you can see the trend line was going in the direction that we wanted it to go. During the pandemic, we saw quite an increase, especially around 2020, which the next couple slides I'll explain why. So from 2020 to 2021, we saw an increase in fatalities of 26.4%. That was the highest percentage increase from one year since 1943 to 1944. In 2021, the number of year-to-date traffic fatalities were the highest they had been in more than 10 years. And some of the reasons for that: speed, a huge contributing factor. We saw speed increase over the pandemic. We don't know why. Maybe people thought less people on the roads, I can kick her down. I don't know, but we saw that as a contributing factor. Unbelted fatalities were 4% higher in 2021 compared to 2020. Motorcycle fatalities were 5% higher, and pedestrian fatalities were the highest we've seen since 2016. So other reasons that we think this increase occurred: perception of less citations. Maybe people thought there were less law enforcement out on the roads because of the pandemic. We saw some decreased following distance, so people were following other cars a lot closer. Just other specific driving behaviors contributed to that. Maybe they just thought higher risk acceptance. They just were bored, they were isolated, they're just out driving around. And some of it could be with COVID, there was less messaging. A lot of our messaging went to COVID response, and that was across the state, not just countywide. As well as there's different priorities. Law enforcement had to halt some of their enforcement response based on some political unrest things we had in Minneapolis and those such things. So a lot of reasons that this could have happened. In 2022, it does look a little bit better than it did in 2021. So we're seeing year-to-date fatalities down to 157 from 192. Those fatalities included 119 vehicle ones, which there was 142 the previous year, 19 motorcycles, 26 the previous year, 19 pedestrians, 23 the previous year, 0 bicycles, which there was 3 from the previous year. And this is a new statistic that TZD is just starting to track, and that is ATV. And so we did have 3 ATV in 2022. So I don't have any trend data on that, but that's what that looks like. So I wanted to give you specific Morrison County crash data, and this is from July of 2021 to June of 2022. We had 279 total crashes. Now, this does not mean fatalities or all of them were injuries. This is just total number of crashes. 101 of them injuries were caused by crashes. We had 6 serious injuries, 8 fatal crashes that contributed to 9 fatalities. And again, Morrison County data along that same time frame. This is just showing you crashes by month. For some reason, the summer, which, you know, maybe it's because people are out and about, going camping, motorcycles are out, all that, but we see summer as higher crash months, especially as you see August is significantly higher. And this is again Morrison County data along that same time frame, July of 2021 to June of 2022, just showing some distracted driving statistics and kind of what that looked like. On the right-hand side, they are trying to start to track what is the reason for the distracted driving. That is very hard data to get, but they're starting to try to get that. So you see phone use, vehicle occupants, those sorts of things are contributing to some of those distracted driving incidents. Now, the next slide is a map of Morrison County and where our fatalities and serious injuries are. So you can see Little Falls and the Piers area had the most fatalities and serious injuries. And again, this is our Morrison County data with fatalities, crashes by month. Again, the same thing that you saw is August is high. And then on the right-hand side, just some interesting statistics about the age of the driver that is causing fatalities. We see a higher percent in the 60 to 64. So with that, Emily's going to talk about our 2022 grant goals and about the grant specifically.
So we are 3/4 into this grant. We end in September of this year. And our grant goals for this year were obviously to reduce the average fatalities and serious injuries. We kept it pretty broad, but we wanted to include not just motor vehicle, but motorcycle and pedestrian crashes as well. We use this crash data that's collected by our sheriff's office and the Minnesota State Patrol to help us kind of analyze where we are at. And the second goal was to engage community partnerships and collaboration. So hosting some events, reaching out to different partners, and really focusing on potentially some distracted driving. We did a lot in April and presented in new places. We also have other activities that are optional with this grant, but we do sign up for them just because they are things that are well received in our county or are things that we still need to work on. So local government presentations, so that makes us able to come and speak with you. We do a lot of motorcycle safety and training, so pushing out messaging on how people can increase their skills as a motorcyclist, and then messaging on the driver's side as well. So one thing that we are trying to keep moving forward is the See Bike, Think Biker campaign. It is trying to bring awareness that the people on these motorcycles are not just motorcycles. There's a person on there who has a family or interests or hobbies, and we want to make that connection that it's not just a motorcycle, there's someone on it with a life. Pedestrian safety, we really focused with school-age children this year, how to be safe walkers if they are walking to school. And I have a slide about that a little bit later. And then really moving forward with our responsible beverage server training and highlighting the benefits of sending establishments to those trainings. Each month, or every couple of months, has a different theme. So it is what enforcement is going out and enforcing on the roadways, and we would do the outreach side of things. And these are just some of the activities we do each month. I'm not going to read through all of them, and I'll highlight just a couple in the next slides. So something new this year, we also had to choose an innovative activity. We chose impaired driving just because that is something that we see a lot of in Morrison County. And our planned activities are innovative because they are not necessarily proven to work, evidence-based. But we see a high impact in these activities when we do them in our county. So hosting a mock crash with a focus on impairment. And then something new this year was a Coffee with a Cop event, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But this is a brand new thing for us this year, and I think overall it went very well, and we saw good engagement with the community. So, sorry about the formatting on that. The picture's a little twisted, but We hosted a mock crash in Uppsala. It's always a high-impact event. It brings a lot of different community partners together. Our EMS teams are able to practice their life-saving skills. We have the funeral homes, our first responders, the ambulance, the helicopter would have been there if the weather had been a little bit better, state patrol, local law enforcement. And they all come together to share this message with students of how a decision can change your life and the lives of all those around you. So the positive on my side of things is I am able to connect with students afterwards and get their key takeaways. And it is really interesting to hear their feedback and their questions that they ask about all of these different potential crashes and events that we host. And we really do see it making an impact on students and the decisions they make moving forward. Coffee with a Cop has been going on for quite a while. I was just able to partner with them on a couple different events. So we did an event in October and then again a couple months ago. But it was a great place to connect with community members and talk about issues around traffic safety. So we talked a lot about impaired driving, but not just alcohol impaired driving, but we talked about what drug impairment might look like on the roadway. And the other really great piece about these Coffee with a Cop events is we could hear firsthand from community members what their concerns were. So something that came up frequently and most recently were these ATV crashes or ATVs on the roadway, and a lot of people don't know the rules and regulations. So that made us as a coalition really understand that we should do some messaging about that and maybe do outreach about those things moving forward this summer. And then finally, just as a recap of activities we did a lot of lunch table events. We do table talks, so we put questions that kids might want to answer or just start thoughts about them on their tables, and then they're able to come up and chat with us and maybe get a prize or some candy, but it's just good to hear again what they think the issues are in their area. We did winter walking with the younger kids. And then we also did a pledge for around prom. So it was a safe behaviors pledge, and it just stated making safe choices while participating in things like prom, graduation, and summer break by practicing safe driving when you're behind the wheel or as a passenger in the car. So thinking about the future, as a state, we are looking at moving into this phase called TZD 2.0. So understanding that what we did to get to this point worked, but now we might need to make some more changes to continue moving towards zero deaths. So we are expanding TZD efforts in more ways to reduce fatalities and serious injuries, so engaging roads and the people that make the cars and really putting ownership on those that use the roadway, so whether you're a pedestrian or using a vehicle. So that brings us into our 2023 grant application. We are applying for the Safe Roads Grant again this year. Currently in the application process, it will be due at the end of July. We really want to build on what the coalition has done because we have made a lot of great partnerships. We want to continue to increase that community awareness, and then we want to highlight those local concerns. We don't want people to think their voice has not been heard when we host community events, and we really want to focus on those things like ATV safety and other unbelted, impaired, those continued things that we need to work on.
Just one other role Emily plays too is when there is a fatality, the highway department is required to review the fatality from a standpoint of safe roads. And so Emily helps structure those meetings and facilitate. So it's just another role that this grant plays for our county and the collaborative we approach, so.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Wilson.
Emily, I got a question for you. On ATVs, I think Crow Wing County adopted something this last year or two about ATVs being able to ride on the side of the county roads and stuff. Do you know, and I know out at Rapid City, South Dakota, they're allowed to drive right down the highway. Have you seen data? Because I understand ATVs and a motor, and if you're in a car, you don't know if they're coming out of the ditch onto the highway, or if most of the accidents are happening because the ditches aren't, adequate for them. Is there studies on that, or are you looking at that type of stuff? or-
Yeah, that's definitely something we want to continue to look forward. And like Sarah was saying, that ATV statistic in general is new this year because we're seeing a lot more ATVs on our roadways. And I don't personally know the rules of county road, highway, those, I know they're allowed to cross at certain places, those kinds of things. So yes, that is going to be looked at. And I think some of the concerns we see from like the community events are these ATVs are on the roadways and they don't have signals and people aren't doing hand signals or things like that. So how can we message how to be safer? If you are using your ATV on this roadway, how can you be safer? And if you're a car, what can you do to be safer around these kinds of vehicles as well?
Because I think there's a lot more, when you say ATVs, I'm thinking of an ATV as somebody that's riding a four-wheeler.
Right.
But there's an awful lot of those other vehicles now, I don't even know what they call them.
Side-by-sides.
Well, yeah, but it's almost like a little car.
Yep.
That are in the ditches and stuff, and I don't know if most of the accidents, but I can see where something needs to be addressed on both of those things, because I don't know if they should be on the road or if they shouldn't be,
Right.
or, so, anyway, thank you.
If there's no other questions regarding Emily and Sarah's presentation, there is a resolution authorizing the Director of Health and Human Services to submit reports on a regular basis on Towards Zero Death. And so this resolution needs to be attached with the grant application.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Lemire and a second by Commissioner Jelinski to approve the resolution authorizing the TZD proposal. Any discussion? Commissioner Jelinski.
Mr. Chair, whether it's distracted driving, impaired driving, whether or not I forgot to put my seatbelt on, or a quadrillion other excuses that we have. Education, perhaps, is the overwhelming theme of what we're talking about today, and there's not a question about that. And whether you're 16 or 66, I just hate to say it, but you have to continue to be educated. If you get into a vehicle today, most of them is like getting into a cockpit of a airline jet. There's so many gauges and so many different things to play with. Whether they're on your steering wheel or whether they're on your dash, they certainly cause, and it's fact, impairment, distraction. If you're impaired and distracted at the same time, that's one thing. But if you're distracted, it acts as if you are impaired. I certainly support Towards Zero Death. I'm on the committee and have been for years. I strongly support what we're talking about today. Thank you all for being here.
I got
Further discussion. Commissioner Wilson.
Emily, I got another question for
Yeah.
you. In Crow Wing County, I think, had the machine where they brought, is that still going on? where
Yes,
they go out
so
and-
we have a new regional coordinator, and he would be the one to reach out to, but it is available if we have enough advance notice to get that signed out, because it is used throughout the region. So we have that seatbelt simulator,
Yep.
and which we brought to the county fair last year. And there's also different things, impairment simulators, like rollovers, those kind of things. They are available.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Gentlemen, this is a roll call. Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher. Aye. Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson. The chairman votes aye. All those voting in the affirmative, this resolution does pass.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Very, very
Thank you.
kindly.
I do have one item of action as my last one, and that is a request to replace an accounting position in Health and Human Services. Due to the restructure of the accounting department, as you might recall, we increased the grade of the fiscal supervisor because they're going to oversee all of the accounting activities between both public health and social services. Previously, public health had a lead accountant, and so I'm requesting to replace a position and then reclassifying that position from a lead accountant to an account tech, which is what the other three would be. So we'd have 4 account techs along with the fiscal supervisor. This position is needed to manage the grants and support the work of the individuals in public health, in accessing health insurance and all of those reimbursements. So my request is to replace a position and then change that position.
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lemire and a second by Commissioner Wincher. Discussion.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Brad, I'm just making sure I'm reading this correctly, because I don't know that you hardly ever come before this board and have a reduction. But we're actually talking about a reduction here for once.
Yeah.
Which is a positive all the way around, I get it, so don't misunderstand. And I'm kind of teasing at the same time, and you know that, but we are truly reducing.
Correct.
That's all I have.
Further discussion? Gentlemen, it's a roll call. Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson. The chairman votes aye. Motion prevails. Brad?
Thank you, that's all I have.
Have a great day.
You
Thanks,
too.
Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Gentlemen, next on the agenda, Amy's here with the Land Services Report. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Miss Amy.
All right, I just have one thing for you today, and this is to consider the after-the-fact interim use permit for Timothy and Pamela Stout and Jocelyn Hewsome. This is to continue the limited rural business that they had already established, specifically for a home goods store. This did make it through Planning Commission with a recommendation to approve with one condition, and that condition was that the interim use permit for the home extended business shall be valid until Timothy and Pamela Stout no longer own the property.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, a second by Commissioner Wincher to approve of this interim use permit. Discussion. 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 Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion prevails.
All right, that's all I
Amy,
have.
have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you, Miss Amy.
too.
All you got for us.
I know. Amazing.
Gentlemen, I look to Mr. LeBlanc, our administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two items for the board this morning. The first it has to do with replacing our CVSO, our County Veteran Service Officer. As we all know, Kathy Marshik is leaving the county to go work for the state. The job was posted. We received 9 applicants. The resumes and applications were reviewed and screened by myself and 2 others using a standard scoring system across all resumes. We selected 3 to interview, and out of the top 3 applicants, our best qualified was Chris Von Berg of the city of Little Falls, works in the city. In accordance with statute, the board must appoint the CVSO for the county. So prior to me issuing an offer letter, I wanted to come to the board to not get ahead of myself and first ask permission to release the offer letter to Chris Von Berg, and then expect a subsequent appointment at the board on the 26th of July.
Gentlemen, wishes of the board.
I'll move on it, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jelinski, a second by Commissioner Wilson to approve issuing an offer letter. Discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Jelinski.
I personally know Chris. She's been with, I can't think of the. Convention and Bureaus Center with the city of Little Falls for a long time. The military background, involved in the community, I believe will be a good fit in the organization.
Thank you, Commissioner Jelinski. Further discussion.
I just have one.
Commissioner Lemire.
To be the Morrison County Veteran Service Officer, there's qualifications that preclude this. Does she have all the qualifications that are needed? Or are you giving her a certain amount of time to get them?
Mr. Chair, she does not currently have the certifications for the position that are required by the state and federal government. The state and federal government provide training, And she is contingent upon the opportunities of those courses to receive the certifications in order to do the work of the position. So they're not internally imposed, externally imposed, but they provide the classes. I've asked Kathy to give me dates and times of those classes to then establish a timeline. In between there, we do have the qualifications within the department as it stands, as well as I've informed our regional trainers that I'm expecting some assistance through the transition as we get her up to speed.
Very good. And then, so on offering of this letter, do we give her a timeline to receive those qualifications?
I will, Commissioner. I need to see when the courses are offered before I can establish that.
Okay, and then so, I know I'm sounding picky, but I know I've been through this. So would you have the trial period after the length of time needed to receive the qualifications?
That's a good question, Commissioner. I believe that the statute outlines that it's a 12-month probation period.
Okay.
Doesn't state whether or not it's post-certified or pre-certified. So I think, I would expect it's going to be a 12-month probation period.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
The other part, I guess, is I'm proposing an offer of a grade 28, step 1 with 40 hours of PTO.
Commissioner Wincher?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The question I have is this letter is intent that we are going to be offering her the position. It doesn't mean that she would accept it. Is that how? And then do we have a backup plan?
We do, and that, you're absolutely correct, Commissioner Wincher. It is an offer. She could decline the offer, and then the backup is to go to our second selection.
Thank you.
Further discussion. Commissioner Lemire?
No.
Anything else? Gentlemen, Mr. LeBlanc, I'd like to ask, this might be more of a procedural question. This is kind of a two-part deal we got going on here. First, the approving of offering or making the offer letter, and then there is the subsequent appointment, if that person would accept the offer as our veteran service officer. Is that a permanent appointment, or is this reviewed on a prescribed basis? And I'm asking this question in reference to the county's responsibility of hiring and employing a county engineer. And that is a contract that we have with our county engineer that's then re-looked at every 4 years.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I recall this as an appointed position of an at-will, and not necessary or required to review periodically.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. So, gentlemen, we have a motion, we have a second. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion prevails. Mr. LeBlanc.
And Mr. Chair, my second item, we received another thank you in the mail, and I think it would be good to be heard by the board if you'd allow.
Please proceed.
This is from the Initiative Foundation. It says, we have received Morrison County's 2022 funding to support the work of the Initiative Foundation. Please extend our appreciation to your board. Thank you. Together, we work to build strong local economies and vibrant communities. Your investment supports economic development through business financing activities designed to create living wage jobs, diversify economies, and leverage private sector investment. Communities are strengthened through signature leadership training and capacity building programs, grants to local units of government and nonprofit organizations, early childhood initiatives, and scholarships. This year, we will continue to help our communities with needs related to the COVID-19 crisis. This work will provide lasting impact on the health of the region and the future of rural Minnesota. We realize this has been a difficult time, and we encourage you to reach out to us if we can be of any additional assistance. We truly value your partnership and your support. Sincerely, signed Matt Verlick and Carol Newbanks.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, that is all I have, pending any questions or requests of the board of me.
Gentlemen, do you have anything for Mr. LeBlanc this morning?
We're good.
Seeing none, gentlemen, we are at the committee reports and nailing down of our upcoming schedule. Anybody have anything they'd like to comment on?
The times, what dates?
We're looking at scheduled dates of
July 17th through July 30th.
July 17th through July 30th. Commissioner Jelinski, thank you for leading off.
Thank you, Commissioner. July 18th, Monday, July 18th at 9 o'clock in the morning, Iowa State Emergency Communications Board meeting. It's a regional leadership meeting. It's held in the city of St. Cloud at the MnDOT office in St. Cloud. That's pretty much an all-day regional meeting, and I plan on attending that. On the 19th, at 8:30 in the morning, we have a planning meeting, followed by approximately 10 o'clock in the morning, we will have a drainage authority meeting. At 6 o'clock that same day, that evening, we have a planning commission board of adjustment meeting, all here in this room. On the 20th at 3:30 in the afternoon, Iowa State Emergency Communications Board Executive Committee meeting. That will be virtual. And at 5 o'clock that same evening, I have a Hands of Hope meeting, which will also be virtual. On the 21st at 10 o'clock in the morning, Central Minnesota Emergency Services Board meets. It's the Owners and Operators Users Group. That will be virtual. The 21st is the start of the Morrison County Fair, which is also on the 22nd, and which is also on the 23rd of this month. I'm not positive that I will be around for any of that, but that's what the dates are. On the 20th,
Flying somewhere?
I'm not flying. On the 25th, excuse me, I don't have anything on that day. On the 26th at 9 o'clock in the morning, we have a county board meeting. On Wednesday, the 27th, at 9 o'clock in the morning, I have a Central Minnesota Emergency Services Board Executive Committee meeting, followed by a full board meeting of the Emergency Services Board at 1 o'clock. On the 28th, 12:30 in the afternoon, I have a State Emergency Communications Board meeting that is virtual, as is the one on the 27th. On the 29th at 10 o'clock in the morning, there's a Central Minnesota EMS Joint Powers Board meeting, which at this time I believe is virtual, or else it'll be at Wade Park at the Service Center. And Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Jelinski. Commissioner Wincher.
All right, with those, I also have additional on the 19th. I have a Great River Regional Library in St. Cloud, that's at 5 o'clock. On Thursday, the 21st, at 5:30, Tri-County Community here in Little Falls. And on the 29th, I have Soil and Water at 8 o'clock here at the county board. And that would take care of those additionals of my schedule.
Commissioner Lemire.
On the 21st, do we need to put the summer reception potluck down?
It's fine with me.
Probably shouldn't.
Yeah, 'cause
22nd, there's a, just for everybody to know, there's a Steve Jones farewell party at the Great River Arts Association at 7 o'clock PM. 27th, HRA, 9 o'clock at HRA. The 30th, Crook Neck Lid Annual Meeting, 9 o'clock, Scandia Valley Town Hall. That's all I got to add.
Commissioner Wilson?
The 26th, I've got community development at noon. And the 28th, I've got the Council of Aging at 10 o'clock in Sartell at their office. And I have airport, let me see, I lost my calendar. And the airport is on that's the 14th, so that's, never mind. That's all I have.
So I can add, we won't have Egg Society because of the fair is going on. But I also have a Region 5 Exec Board meeting on the 20th at 10 a.m. in the morning.
You drive there? Oh,
Other
obviously.
than that, I don't believe I have anything else to add at this point in time. We may have, there is no Region 5 meeting in, commission meeting in July. Thank you. I may have a meeting with Extension within the hiring process. I will let you know that if that comes through. There's continued correspondence on that. Otherwise, I have nothing further. Gentlemen, anything further to come before this board this morning of July 12th? Anything? If not, I will adjourn this meeting at 10:02.